Give everybody. Hello, everyone. It is March 16th, and it is Push to Talk here on Saturday. I'm going to adjust my little camera a little bit. There we go. Centering a little more. Should have done that a little earlier. Let's see. Nobody's on mute? That's fantabulous.
You're going to have to watch the Twitch chat for when you accidentally mute yourself because I can't see it.
That will happen eventually. So it's Eric and Don in the beginning. McLeod got stuck in traffic. He's a little late coming home. Dirk is a little bit late, and hopefully we'll see a wild horrendous here shortly. So McLeod it will be set for video. We have a little bit of a challenge because this week we are, according to all the Euros, an hour early, right? Because INN runs on U.S. time. So hey, there's a McLeod. He'll be here shortly.
Hello.
So we're at a little bit different time zone here, or time, everybody. So apologies. We are a shortened show today, 1 hour. We will be, because of the Captain's Cup, we may or may not have a gin ton because Eric didn't really do his job. But it's a good thing McLeod woke him up this morning. Tell him. I had a very busy work week, and you guys reminded me that I was supposed to reach out to Gin Ton for the Captain's Cup. And, okay. And I didn't, so I reached out to him this morning. He may or may not have the ability to come, depending on if they have any last-minute things they have to do set up there. So maybe he'll just pop in, and we'll see what's going on. So, and we have a bunch of things happening in Eve. By the way, Dawn is out there at the Cincinnati Zoo. So I just, what is that called? Telling everybody where you are, Dawn? I don't know. Told everybody where she is.
The Dawn.
The Dawn. The Dawn is, that could be your name. You're
the Dawn Report?
The Dawn. You're the Dawn. And so she's at the zoo. We won't get any cool zoo pictures, but she's coming in nice and clear. It's pretty fantastic. So, a little traveling, a little birthday thing going on for her. McLeod, just yell at me when you got your vid running, and I'll pull you right in.
Well, I'm in the car at the moment. So...
Oh, you're still in the car?
Oh, yeah.
Holy crap, everybody's remote. The magic of the internet and cellular networks, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic.
And I heard that I recall people talking in a chat that I was in that for some reason people didn't like Discord mobile, or the mobile app for Discord, the cell app for Discord, and it's like, dude, do you want to go through the through the various different sort of alternatives that you may have and how fucking terrible they are?
Hey, well, I'm going to tell you, McLeod, I run a whole company on Discord on the phone.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've said to my family, how amazingly good Discord is at just being able to coordinate and communicate people and build like a almost any kind of org, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we do all, company announcements over that. And it's particularly good because we have some deaf folks that work for us, so it's much, much easier for them, right?
Yeah.
All day long, we have drivers that communicate with their dispatch folks. If they have a problem, they take pictures, they upload pictures. They, heaven forbid, have an accident, they upload all those pictures. everything functions across Discord. It's fantastic.
Yeah, because because they have an API and they have an integration like system.
Yeah, we don't even use that part of it
to integrate, right?
Yeah, we don't even use that part. Just on the phone and on PCs, and everybody can help everybody out. It's pretty fantastic. So, by the way, McLeod. So, some of you in the audience may not know. I like to use XSplit. Everybody else likes OBS. I hate OBS just because I can't do certain things in it. Maybe McLeod will enlighten me one day. But my XSplit has crashed many times over the last 6 months. I have actually determined that it is something that we're using in our layout that is causing that to happen. If I,
really?
If I start fresh with a blank environment, I have no issues.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Have you also figured out the random the thing that's causing you to randomly mute yourself? Is that still
that I haven't figured out yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. Hold on. There's a thing on my glasses driving me crazy. And this is a terrible time for me because we're right on the edge of spring here where I live. I can look out my office window and I can see my maple tree. The buds are coming up for the leaves, so I know the pollen count is up. And unfortunately, my number 2 son and I are a little bit allergic to pollen, so then it affects our eyes. It's kind of weird. So, yeah. So, Dawn, we've got some... By the way, a lot of the folks like Soth are working on the Captain's Cup stuff today. So they're away. They're big into supporting all the EVE big tournaments out there. So it's pretty fantastic. And I haven't heard that there's a big fight during our show, so we're good. But I keep looking. So Dawn, what do you? I know we have that 20-minute rule, but we're only on for an hour, so I really don't want to do the 20-minute rule. So let's talk some EVE.
Well, Dirk isn't here to enforce it, so.
Does anybody really enforce anything on this show?
Yeah, they do.
You know what I enforce? Coffee. I love coffee. So good.
So we were going to have this sold out, so who it is. We did a train ride. We saw the manatees. It's been a good day.
Good day. Don't get any of that Skyline chili. Shop. That stuff sucks. Sorry to all our Cincinnati viewers. I'm not a fan of Skyline chili. Do not put cinnamon in my chili. Sorry.
I find that spaghetti would be the bigger problem.
No, spaghetti's fantastic with chili. Next time you and I are in DC together, along with Brisk, and anybody else who's there, right? Hard Times Cafe. That's where we'll be going. We'll be getting some chili, raw onions, chili, Texas chili, obviously. Some shredded cheese over spaghetti. Fantastic.
I'm not a chili fan.
I don't hate Cleveland. Good morning. I mean, as a general rule, I don't really like Cleveland, but I mean, they've got some good German food. That is for sure. That is for sure. Good German food. I've never been to Cincinnati, but Skyline chili I have had. Well. Alrighty. So, big fight number 1. What happened, Don?
Okay.
Number 1.
Sorry,
like
this whole place is uphill. Okay, so Sunday was the first fight, real big fight of the war. And there were 4 Keep Stars coming out, different timers. The only one that matters to the bad guys, particularly, like for strategic value, is X47. And so they had about 3,500 people local. And we finished up shooting Roar. We went in, and we decided since they dressed up for us, we would party.
There you go.
And probably about 6 a.m. or something like that, we attacked. No, it was like right before downtime, I think. Well, yeah, about 6. Our Leshaks warped to 0 while the timer was ticking down. It had maybe about 13 or 14 minutes left. It took them 20 minutes to lock and shoot the structure. So it repaired by the time they even locked it.
Wow.
Yeah, Teddy was a bitch. But we knew what was going to happen, so we had some brawls and the server died. Then we tried to come back, and the server died again. And it was just let's just say we got to learn new things about the server that day. And at one point, when we came back in because the server crashed, it appeared that the server had rolled back. But kind of from what we gathered with what CCP said is that the server just stopped keeping information after a certain point about your ship's location and such. So a lot of people who were able to escape the keep star and warp off were dragged back when they logged back in.
Oh.
So that's why it was a much more lopsided victory than it could have been if some of the people's positions had been true to what had happened. But we knew it was going to be slaughter going in against Supers, Carriers, Dreads, the Golden Fleet, and 0 on a keep star. But we were like, we're already here, let's do it, and we had a good time. Then Wednesday rolls around, and we got a couple choices of like what keep stars to hit because we had reinforced X-47 again, but also some of the other ones were full timers. It ended up working out that a good portion of everybody ended up in 5ZXX, and we absolutely dumpstered them.
Nice. I like a little dumpster.
The interesting part is during the 5ZXX one is the guns wouldn't cycle.
Oh.
They would shoot once, then you'd have to shoot it again and again and again. So for 5 hours, everyone pushed F1 over and over again.
Over and over and over.
The drones wouldn't cycle, so that you would send the drones to attack something, they'd shoot it once, and then just do nothing.
Oh, wow.
So you had to, over and over again, tell them to attack something else, and then back to the keep star, and back and forth for 5 hours.
The Morg wanted to gouge his eyes out, is what he's saying during that fight.
Yeah.
So those are some things we haven't seen in tie-dye before to that magnitude, right? I wonder what they've changed in that code. It boggles my mind that timers don't also work the same as everything else in tie-dye, right? They heal before you can do anything on a different timer, right? I mean, it just it boggles sensibilities because it absolutely shouldn't work that way, and there doesn't seem to be any desire to fix things like that, right? They just happen, and nobody cares to fix them, right?
Oh, the server broke like crazy.
Yeah. Well, how hard is it to keep everybody on the same type of timer, right? When tie-dye happens, it happens for all things in the system, right? Downtime, black hole, the unexpected. But here's the thing. Downtime should be something that is completely expected because it should be a graceful shutdown, right? And everything should be, remember, putting thousands of people in a system, right? And this is a bane of the galaxy, right? He says, wonder if CCP ever stress tests their code. I think they do to a point, but to the levels that we put in, when we put, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000, 8,000, I don't think we've done 8,000 yet, but close, right? People in there and all the things that can go on there, since they are server-side based transactions, right, for everything. It's hard. It's hard. There aren't many tools to stress test code in the way that CCP needs to do it, I think. You'd have to build your own. right? And that in and of itself could be a huge effort. I think more focus on making things in tie-dye function for all things in the galaxy or the universe or the solar system, whatever you want to call it at that time. Working the same is probably more important, right? And making sure that your cues are actually working, right? That when you stop recording where spaceships are in space, right? That I'm wondering if they're not using multiple cues, right? No, it looks like we lost McLeod.
I don't know.
Don.
He's probably moving things.
Yeah.
But well, the second one is CCP even came in because the gun's not working. Didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And we're wondering if, and it didn't work in that specific system. If you left the system, everything worked just fine. If you came back in, it wouldn't work. So it was a system issue.
Oh, yeah. I mean, completely hypothetical, right? I wonder if there isn't a hardware issue on that node or something like that, right? Because I'm assuming they reinforced the node, right? Wonder if something else wasn't happening. You never know. I mean, I think their equipment is a little bit older, right? 2009, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You never know, right? I mean, it's something for them to really, get root cause on and see what they can do to fix it. So I don't know. That's bad. I mean, when you have big fights and big battles, right? I mean, say all you want about Eve and all the cool stuff that you can do in Eve. The thing that makes the news, the things that make Eve, everybody log into Eve, all seem to happen in Null, a part of space that they don't really seem to care as much about over the last decade, and big fights. So the better that they invest in those things and the bigger fights that they can have, I think that's how they set themselves apart in the space of online gaming, right? They're the only company who can have thousands of people fighting each other at one time, right? Let's see what's
it's one of the few unique things about you.
M2 Dam, he says, anybody who sets their cat as their avatar is outing themselves as a pussy coward. Ha ha ha. No surprise for Eve players. So, M2 DM,
Wait, whose avatar is a cat?
Well, everybody, we have the goon cats, right? By the way, just so you know, M2 DM, those cats are actually from the goon forums, right? People were finding cats to match personalities of folks in goons, right? And Dawn, I just, harass her with the dinosaur. Soth, I actually put up there because I lost his cat, I think, or he didn't have one. And he is just on hiatus today, right? So McLeod, we're just waiting to see if he can get online after he's running a little late. This is a tough day for our European friends for the show, always, every year, because the United States springs forward, right? We move an hour forward, and they have to all adjust. And we also have the Captain's Cup today that some folks are helping getting ready for, like Soth. And we do expect Dirk sometime later. I don't know if Dirk was thinking in the 2-hour mark in his brain or at the 1 hour mark, or where he was going.
You never know.
Most null-sex players don't pay into the company, right? That might be their reasoning. What do you mean null-sec players don't pay into the company? I don't understand, Pinsky, what that means. As a null-sec player, I used to pay for like 12 accounts, and I paid cash for them. So I don't know many people who don't pay, but you'd have to define pay, right? The only way to not pay is to pay for free. Even if you're paying with Plex, CCP has been paid for that time, right? And I always used to just do the annual subscription because it was the cheapest rate, and that's how it is until CCP kind of started playing their games and doing really, really stupid stuff. And, I unsubbed everything for a long time. So,
I agree. I pay, I think, usually at the 6 or the 12 month, usually 6 months one, just
I went down to
$11
quarters
a month.
And really, it came when they decided that they were just in the middle of a war. They were going to throw random AI bots. That's what they are. They're not NPCs. They're AI bots, randomly attacking the superpowers, so that and fed no information. You didn't know how much they would damage or blow up things. And Dirk and I spent many 24-hour days battling that stuff and coordinating that stuff when it happened. It just wasn't fun, and it was just poorly designed, and I think it was designed to slow down the war. So, when CCP injects their hand, and by the way, in World War B1, they really irritated me at CCP when they decided that they were going to capitalize on it, use it in their propaganda and their internal stuff to spur it on. And really, I felt that CCP was trying to eliminate goons at that point. They failed, right? Tremendously, but I don't think a company should ever get involved in those type of things. If they had done it in our favor, I would still be as upset, because I don't think they should ever do that stuff. They shouldn't inject themselves in gameplay. But they had nothing going on, right? Let's see. What did Ivinsky? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, I think the percentage of players who have a subscription to their game time in nullsec is way lower than the subs chugging around in highsec, right? So agreed. Need that would be interesting to know, right? By the way, Don, who did they list as a highsec player who was a nullsec player? It was somebody in Goons. And I can't remember.
I'm back, by the way.
Hey, Mac, how you doing? You still on the road, or are you in?
No, I got back. I got back to my house. That's why I kind of disconnected. But I'm just getting.
That's what we figured was going on.
Yeah.
I don't think CCP has any real good way of knowing where players play, because they've listed nullsec players as highsec players before, and we made a big deal about that and just laughed hysterically. We all have characters in the major market areas, right? We all have accounts there, but we're nullsec players.
If you looked at my characters right now, you would think I'm a Toxman/Wormhauler. Technically, I'm still nullsec, but the last 6 months, I've not been spending much time in nullsec, because there's nothing worthwhile out there.
Yeah, it used to be worthwhile to be more in nullsec.
The only worthwhile thing about it is bragging rights right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only real thing, really, right?
And a nice convenient place for my Titan and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong here, there's still benefits with the R64 moons, but those are only available so many days a week. You can have the bigger fights, but sometimes it's fun to know that the biggest thing you're probably going to deal with is a battle cruiser or maybe a marauder if someone gets saucy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I understand wanting to play in some of the more restricted areas, because I'm currently, Hoshfen's awful. I'm sorry. It's so terrible. Never go there. Terrible place. Ignore the amount of money I'm making.
Yeah. It's, again, I think it came down to, nullsec is where you can control, own, and manage your own space, right?
And I would say the building's better down there too, and obviously you can react down there that you can't react in high or low spec. So they just make some benefits down there, but the mining distribution is worthless. other than our 64s. And then the ratting, you can get the bigger sites, but it's what's cost.
Yeah, and to be Avinsky, well, however you pronounce that, I don't know. Is assuming that there are more high sec players, and there's probably more players stranded in high sec that have logged in and never log in again, right? And Reconnect 77, I think that's kind of the best way to pronounce that. Thanks for the follow, appreciate that. Hey, there's Mac. The so he just videoed up, baby.
Okay.
We're losing you, Don.
Can you hear me?
You were a little robot-y there for a while.
What?
And you're still
a little robot-y? Jesus Christ.
Just a teeny bit. Just a tiny bit.
Just a tiny little amount. Mm-hmm.
By the way, while Dawn gets someplace where she can be less robot-y, I'll share a little personal story. Number 2 son is a little upset with his father because, nobody was around for dinner except like 3 of us, and we only got Chinese food for 3 of us, and we didn't get any for him. He was at work, and we came home, and there was.
If you are enjoying the content that we provide on IM, you're losing it.
We had you there just for a little bit, but by the way, he just eats plain lo mein. Okay, he won't eat beef lo mein or anything with egg in it. Or
the difference.
Plain lo mein, just with a little bit of the sauce and noodles. That's it. The kid cooks ramen and will not use the flavor pack. He just puts soy sauce in it. Still didn't get Don back. I told a stupid story and Don still didn't come back. It's terrible.
I'm here.
All right.
I think she might be a little bit back. Is she a little bit back now? Well, she kind of is, yeah.
She is, yeah. We decided, McLeod, her new name is The Dawn. She's the Dawn.
Oh, okay. The Dawn. Okay.
The Dawn. Not Dom. Dawn.
My oddly enough, my voice, my connection, like my connection quality to Discord, like to voice, is like really sketchy. I don't know why that is.
You sound perfectly clear.
It's literally going from red. It's literally going from red to yellow to red to yellow to red to yellow. It's like weird.
Yeah, don't worry about it. You sound good.
Red to yellow. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that
means. Where you see voice connected. You see voice connected, and you got those 3 bars, right?
Yeah.
It's literally on the first bar and the second bar, like jumping between the 2.
Oh, mine just says green, 3 bars all the time. I never see anything else. Daniel.
Well, probably because push to talk Discord server is like somewhere in the US.
Yeah. Well, Sima STK says you could say that Don is really sounding like Optimus Prime on T-Mobile.
You mean Mint Mobile?
Yeah, Well, T-Mobile bought Mint Mobile. I'll tell you what, that dude is a shrewd.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing,
dude. Okay. Not only did he get a super cool wife, because the way they harass each other online is just super hilarious, right? But he is. I mean, I think he sold he sold the gin company too. Bought the gin company, revamped it up, sold it,
made the money. Gin company kind of.
He's still associated with it. He still has some partial ownership in it, and he still has some partial ownership in Mint Mobile too. He's still going to run commercials, and they're going to keep it separate from T-Mobile, which is maybe a smart thing, right? But T-Mobile's making some moves. Verizon and AT&T better look out. I actually think T-Mobile has the most
bought Mint Mobile. T-Mobile bought Mint Mobile for $1.35 billion. Like, Jesus.
I'd say he doesn't have to act anymore. In fact, I think
when you kind of he doesn't need to act ever, like, but he will, because it's not a job for him; it's a passion for him, right?
Well, I think he's in that money area where, like Adam Sandler. I think he might have more than Adam. I don't know, but him and Adam Sandler pretty much said, "We're just going to make movies with our friends that we like."
Yeah.
Because they don't have to anymore. Right?
I mean, just so you know, like it's not like he's getting 1.3 billion from it. Like, he probably will get personally about 300 million from it. So
I don't actually know what he's getting from it, but he's retaining some ownership. So and plus he's going to still be the spokesman, so he's going to get money for that too. He is truly. By the way, I gotta take my balance of nature. I haven't done that today, crazy. So.
But then again, I honestly thought that Mint Mobile was like a gimmick, kind of like semi joke. I didn't realize it was like a proper real company. When you kind of see him sort of doing the adverts and stuff like that, and it's like, oh right, the gin company is real. Okay, yeah, fair enough. But whatever. And then they got Mint Mobile, and it's like,
I love the gin commercial where they're sitting there and they're talking very nicely to the gin berries, or juniper berries, right? But they're talking very nicely and making them calm. Then they beat the hell out of them with wooden sticks, right? In the next scene, kills me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I Okay, the next set.
Can you hear me now? We're leaving.
We can hear you now.
This is good. Tonight we're going on a train ride with a dinner, a 4-course dinner, very expensive.
Oh, that's cool.
In Ohio, train ride in Ohio. Not gonna derail.
There's some cool train rides in Ohio. Whoop. Okay. McLeod came back. McLeod was, doing something like he was in the Matrix there for a minute. By the way, anybody, just an important safety tip for everybody out there. If you are taking balance of nature things, by the way, I don't sleep. Okay, I mean, I wake up at 2 a.m. and I go to bed at 11, wake up at 2, and I'm awake. That's just the way it is. When I take the balance of nature, I actually go into deep sleep and sleep. And a lot more sleeping going on. So,
is it just a vitamin thing, or is it?
It's balance of nature is they do. You have to look them up. By the way, I'm not doing a commercial for them because I'm not telling people to take them. I'm just saying, but they're basically concentrated vegetables and fruits. And there is a green one for vegetables and a red one for fruits. You're supposed to take 3 tablets every day. So my important safety tip for anybody who takes them or is thinking about taking them, you take the vegetables, the green one first. Okay? Because it tastes like broccoli. Okay? And you don't want that taste in your mouth. And then you take the fruit one, which then tastes like cherries and strawberries. And that's a refreshing taste in your mouth. So that's an important safety tip from Eric to all of you out there who might be taking that. So. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Seema SDK said in chat he actually uses Mint Mobile. Never had any issues. There's a lot of these small things. They piggyback on the primary network, right? I mean,
speaking of commercials, make sure everyone to follow if you're not following, and if you feel like it, throw a subscribe at the channel. And use your Twitch Primes to subscribe, so it costs you nothing. And we encourage you all to do that if you enjoy it.
In case you didn't hear Don say that, right? Use your Jassy bucks. They're not Bezos bucks anymore. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to the channel for free using Prime. So everybody who can do that, we'd love it if you do that. If you appreciate all the shows on INN, not just ours. And if you prefer to pay your tier 1 sub like I do, I've always paid tier 1 subs to the network. You can do that as well. But if you can't do that, can't afford it, or don't want to, follow is great. Love to have all the follows we can, and we appreciate it. So let's see, where are we at in the show here? Because we are a shortened show today. We are at 1:34 U.S. Eastern. So that means we have about 25 more minutes here.
The direct enlistment came out, so now people in nullsec can fulfill their worker dreams.
Dawn, I don't think we heard all of that. Something about their worker dreams in nullsec.
Faction warfare.
Faction warfare. Yeah. It's almost like manufacturing to me. Manufacturing and faction warfare are like useless to me and Eve. I don't like to do them. They're not fun. I like to mine, which is nice because, and by the way, I like to mine because sit there, drink a beer with your buddies and do a little mining, have a little fun. It's social hour. It's very nice. It's peaceful, mostly. But, and then, battles in Eve, right? Big fights, fleets of 250 flying around everywhere, hearing what your FCs say, being quiet to your FCs, and then chatting, and knowing that in that fleet of 250 people are people from all over the world, okay? All different backgrounds, all different persuasions, guys, girls, everything. And you're just out there for one purpose, to work together to achieve a goal and have some fun, right? And sometimes, by the way, one of my favorite fleets, and I saw Boat on the other night, right? So Boat was doing some stuff, and so if you catch Boat, he's just fun. He's a great streamer. He's fun to listen to. But I always liked his fleets, and I remember one in Cloud Ring because Eric likes Cloud Ring, one in Cloud Ring where we're all in, I think, Harpies or something like that, right? And we took down a Nyx or something crazy we took down. I can't even remember, so many years ago. And then he was like, I can't believe we took it down and we won and we had a great bubbler. And then he says, guys, we're all probably going to die. So we're just going to die. We're just going to do something and we're all going to die and we're just going to have fun doing it, right? That's what you need in FC and players.
Yeah.
I am a Boat fan. I just enjoyed his fleets every time. Boat.
Oh, I've always enjoyed Boat fleets immensely. I've been on so many bomber fleets that Boat has run, and it's funny when he loses his shit on, people who just kind of follow his orders but don't follow his orders in a weird kind of way. Sometimes he would just expect a little bit too much from everybody. He would run us us into a gate camp kind of thing in bombers, and he would just be like, "Why is everybody dying? You have cloaks." That kind of thing, right?
And he'll say it like this: "Why is
of the few people who of the people who know what to do at a gate camp when you're in a bomber, you can get out and it's fairly easy, unless you're really unfortunate and you're the one that gets the unfortunate decloak and gets tackled and locked up and blacked kind of thing, right? But when he loses his ship because 15, 20 of his bombers just end up getting killed on a gate camp, then it's hilarious to listen to. But I think the funnest fleet, I would say it clinches the best, the funnest fleet that I've been in to date in EVE Online is it was a Boat fleet, it was a tornado fleet, so we were flying around in high alpha black tornadoes, and it was it was ages ago, absolutely ages ago. But we were essentially roaming down through Venal into like that jump from Venal to Peregrine Falls.
Mm-hmm.
HD tack to M202, and I think there was a staging. M202 was a staging system at the time. I'm not sure whether we had like keep stars at that point. I don't think we did, but like it was a staging. There was a staging station in M202 at the time, and we were literally just jumping around, like flying around and just blapping things that were trying to catch us in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew, and we knew that like we were eventually all going to die, but we would have a fucking fun time up until that point, right? And it was just great. It was just absolutely awesome. Like it was so fun. He was laughing his ass off, like he always does when he's having a great time, and everybody, there was nobody bitching, right? There was nobody bitching because everybody knew, what was going to eventually happen to this fleet, and everybody was resigned to that and happy with that, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, a little Nani
an absolute blast
thing. Did everybody have a good St. Patrick's Day? Because the bishop did the whole thing and said, "Okay."
I'm still having a good St. Patrick's Day.
You still are? I got a couple Guinness. I might have started drinking early Friday, but then we went for Chinese.
Yep. Chinese.
We did go. Okay. We did do our fish at lunch though. So, and by the way, High Clam says industry can be super fun if you're making sick profits. I don't find industry super fun in the land of EVE Online because there's like, for some reason, you have to have 800 little things to build a thing.
I think it's crazy. I think it's less like
pain in the ass.
I think it's a less in the moment kind of fun thing, but it's more of a kind of like, you feel a sense of accomplishment when you've supplied, you've done the effort to supply an absolute shit ton of stuff to your alliance or to your coalition, and they've gone on to basically take that stuff and beat the living crap out the enemy with, right? Like that's it's not an in the moment kind of feel, but it is like a satisfaction sort of thing when you're like, yeah, my shit did that.
I think really hard in real life, right? I gotta sometimes really complex trying jobs, In EVE, manufacturing is too much thinking. Erik doesn't want to think that hard. I mean, it's one thing to think and try and figure something out, but when it's like, as complex as EVE manufacturing is for Erik, it is not fun. I don't have to think that hard.
Well, that's just good. I guess that's just good planning and good setup, right? If you don't have to think too hard about getting the stuff done, then you've set your company up, your business up, whatever, like properly, right?
No, just based on what I do, it can be, the things that
if you got good processes there.
No, not like that. It's IT, right? Every day is a new challenge.
Talking of spreadsheets in space, like I wonder how I've heard things on the grapevine, but I wonder how the whole Microsoft Excel implementation into EVE and all that kind of stuff is how that's going, because I believe it's still in beta.
Yeah,
well, they're still ironing stuff out, but like I've heard that there's not that many people actually helping with the the beta process because reasons.
Well, number one, you have to buy the product, right? Right. Excel is paid, Google is free, right? I will say that I like features in both of them. I mean, they're both pretty cool, but I am, I do live in the world of Excel versus Google Sheets, right? And I just find it, its integration into databases and things like that are just way easier for me to deal with. So, although since
Excel
I don't what
Excel?
Excel, absolutely.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think there are just things. Yes, and by the way, DeMorton has a few very interesting spreadsheets, just a couple, and I believe they're Google Sheets, by the way. But yeah, I mean, there's super cool features of both of them, but and I do own the Microsoft suite on a personal level, right? Obviously, I have access as a business level, but on a personal level, yeah, I just tend to use them more. They just work for me. Like if you say, Eric, how are you tracking your solar, cells and electric utilization, everything? You can bet your butt that there's an export out of that system right into Excel, not into Google Sheets, right?
Mm. I was kind of blown away a little bit by somebody who was extremely good at using Google Sheets. But they essentially, and this was a long time ago. This was like literally, I mean, Christ, probably 5-6 years ago, something like that, maybe 7 years ago. Like I was basically kind of into the whole Intel kind of coordination and Intel gathering kind of side of things in Eve. And one of the things that I wanted to do while because I was in Razer at the time when Razer was actually good and not just like gone. Like, yeah, because where the fuck is Razer these days? But when Razer was good, and I was like doing my Intel sort of stuff with for Razer and for the CFC in a broader kind of context, because I was one of the Intel coordinators in the Sky team as well. I was kind of getting some guys in Razer to actually put together an Intel kind of sheet to basically note down Intel and track Intel and basically create trends. So the idea was to basically, note down locations, note down just a whole plethora of what would be notable Intel, like Intel worthy of like noting down in some way, shape, or form, and then being able to use like databases, that kind of thing, and queries and all that kind of stuff to be able to kind of start to stitch together like a picture or like a potential sort of trends and potential sort of like characteristics of where certain alliances would tend to want to put sort of put staging systems, where like well-traveled routes and stuff like that for supers and titans, that kind of stuff, right? Like supers and titans where they've been spotted in terms of positioning, all that kind of stuff, right? And one of the guys who was helping me with this, like, put together a thing on Google Sheets, which was like, because Google Sheets is just a spreadsheet package, right? You don't expect too much from it. But he basically built a database inside of Sheets that allowed me to kind of like, allowed me to query things, allowed me to sort of, to sort lists, to sort of, to do all sorts of shit. And it was crazy. I was blown away then at what Google Sheets could do, but like I have no idea what it could do now, but like you never know.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm sure like Microsoft SQL Server has similar stuff, right? I think Microsoft.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Like,
I think
they
Microsoft
definitely do. They've got like powerful
right?
shit, but I didn't expect Sheets to do it.
Oh yeah.
I didn't expect Sheets to be able to do what they did. That was my point.
Yeah, that would be nice though. I don't think Google has like a free database, right? That would be kind of cool.
I don't think so.
I am absolutely sure probably in Azure they have a free database. I know Oracle. You can actually sign up for Oracle's cloud, get a free database and a couple nodes and space. Cool. It's all free. You can fire up VMs. It's pretty cool. Yeah. But you got MySQL, right? and you've got the free version of Oracle and everything. There, and I think the free version. I don't know if Microsoft has this, but they've got to have a product. So I'm not talking one.
I mean, back in the day, Microsoft used Microsoft Access as a database program, but I don't know whether that's
Access.
like old hat.
But I think there's a free version of SQL Server, but I don't know if they have a development tool in front of it. I know Oracle's got a development tool, Apex, super powerful, no code type thing you can hook in. So I mean, there's so much that is available to us today to do some of that stuff from a technology perspective. It's pretty amazing, what you can do. And, I use VirtualBox on my PC, and I can fire up all kinds of different products in VMs. And there's so many images, right? They obviously I'm Oracle centric because I like that better. But I can fire up all kinds of VMs, Linux, Solaris, Windows, do all kinds of things. I probably had 15 running on my PC the other day because, Sothrasil said, Eric, you don't need that much memory. Eric said, yes, I need that much memory, Sothrasil. Okay, because I want to do this in the future. It's super cool, right? Since I do a lot of stuff in Oracle, I had their enterprise manager going. I had multiple databases going. Next, I'll install a rack database on my PC. That'll be pretty cool. And things like that. So yeah, we got a lot of cool stuff you can do from technology. And I'm sitting there going, if I knew all this stuff and had all this stuff years ago, and it was this robust, there's so much we could have done from a database perspective and storing data and everything like that in Eve, and really sharing some stuff with really low code development, right? So low code development really is the thing today. There's lots of products to do it. Everybody has their things, and then the way we can just access data, right? It's not just relational, right? We've got many ways to store and manage our data, right? I mean,
cool. Like for sure. Honestly, I always thought this, but the amount of data and the amount of information that comes out of the Eve servers with the API or with the ESI endpoints and stuff like that is it is crazy good if you are into that sort of data analysis sort of side of things and your shit, and you can kind of get how and you can figure out how to get the data out in a usable form, because there is a website that I found a long time ago and is still working, which is fantastic, but is also it's scary in terms of the amount of detail that you can get out of just the data that you can find and that you can manipulate and use to figure out stuff. Some old hats and people out there will probably know this particular website. It's called Eve Prism, right? And thank you by the way out there for thank you Jos Yavavich for the sub, by the way.
94 months. 94 months.
Yeah.
I thought my 86 was cool. It's 94.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
That's pretty damn good. So I did a quick search for fraternity on Eve Prism, and through just typing fraternity into the search bar and clicking the Alliance fraternity right, I can tell that they have an average. Their average fleet size is 107. They've had a maximum fleet size for the last 90 days of 366. That might be a little bit weird and kind of thing, but it's it is what it is, right? Yeah, exactly. But I can see that their prime time is between 11 UTC and 15 UTC. Their time since their last kill was 12 minutes ago. There's a bunch of kind of crazy stuff that you can find about this.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. There's all kinds of concepts for those, and if it's more if you data lakes and things like that, serverless data, all kinds of things you could do. And if you were just collecting this data, imagine how big. By the way, another unique thing, kind of within EVE Online, is the degree with which they let you have this data and build your own tools, right?
Yeah.
EVE Offline, Eve Who, Prism, right? There's sites out there that take this data and do very specific things with it. And people have used it for decades in some cases. Right?
Oh, for sure, dude. Like, and you know, the more sophisticated, the sort of like the you know, the querying of various data and you know, kind of conditioning the data in various different ways to sort of make it make sense. Like, the more powerful it is, and I've you know, I've said this a fair few times, like especially on this channel, and especially when we've had heated debates about stuff like this, that like I do kind of feel like some of the information that's coming out of that we get handed to us is a bit too much information. Like it's great to have certain information, like but we don't need to have such a holistic, like full rounded view of that data.
Yeah. There may be a company out there whose official mission statement is this: our mission is to help people see data in new ways, discover insights, and unlock endless possibilities. And by the way, if you are pulling as much of EVE Online's data as you can, you could, I mean, wow. I mean, our users really have that. I remember when we ran a corporation, right? Patriotic Tendencies. You know, we had ways to see the data and the data about our members and things. It just amazed me. And by the way, it amazed me that somebody built the application on top of it for free because it's pretty damn amazing. Yeah. Right? And it had to hook into the EVE Online APIs and all this stuff. It was cool as shit. I forget what it was called, though. Yes, it is Oracle's mission statement, Bane of the Galaxy. But I find it an interesting mission statement, right? It's very simple. You know, I mean, it's amazing what you can do with data. I mean, I'm just sitting here, you know, maybe, I mean, I feel like spinning up, see, okay, the complexity of perhaps manufacturing might drive Erik brain up the wall. However, firing up a VM and maybe playing with the API and pulling data in the database, that, you know, that would be intriguing to me, right? I'm feeling like I want to do that. Bane of the Galaxy, you probably dealt with the wrong auditors. We could probably have an offline conversation about that. I know all about it. And it depends on if you're adversarial or not. But yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it's truly interesting. And it's interesting where technology is going, and you know, it will be interesting to see if CCP is able to capitalize on some of the new innovations within, you know, the management of software and licensing, right, and doing certain things.
Yeah,
I am very surprised, and I won't say that certain cloud infrastructures are not conducive to what CCP likes to do, and others might be. But yeah, I think they could move their stuff right into the cloud super easy and do amazing things with it and be much more highly scalable than they are today. Right?
Oh yeah.
It's interesting what's happening with processors in the cloud and things like that as well, and how they're all utilized. You know, so I'm not going to talk about one over the other and positives and negatives, but I would definitely host them on one because, you know, there might be one that can do bare metal provisioning that they could probably do much better on. But it would be interesting. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to. You know, that's a segment that we have to get. We have to see if we can get this on the cloud with their hardware folks again. I think we had it a while ago. Be interesting to have it again. Because it's at that moment where you know, we're in a situation where, hey, they've got some older hardware and they need to design better. Could be interesting.
Yeah.
What else we got going on here? Any fights in the near future? We only have about a minute left here, Don.
I mean,
any upcoming fights in the cloud?
I mean, I think probably people are expecting that, like, we're going to have another run at that keep star at some point. So that's probably in the not too distant future in some way, shape, or form. I know I had to run a ship down there for a potential stream, but it turned out that wasn't to be, because we were prioritizing some different kind of objectives at that particular point in time. But that is the dance that you play when you're fighting a very, very strategic rather than just tactical kind of campaign against a sizable enemy, right? Is you don't set up just one strategic kind of you don't set up one particular objective, right? You set up a whole bunch of objectives, so your enemy has to kind of set out priorities and enough and because they have to set priorities, they end up losing some things, which, if you only set up one priority, or you only set up one objective at a time, they could always,
if you're not the bigger force,
they could always put a blocker there, and it would be a case of, like, you either win or you lose, and you don't actually, like, if you lose, then you don't make any progress. Whereas if you have multiple objectives, they cover theirs, they can feel like they've gotten a win by covering a particular prioritized objective, but you also get the wins by, like, taking out a bunch of secondary objectives, right? So,
all right, well, I gotta go, so thanks for having me. Thanks for our Twitch chat. Have a good day.
See you, Don. You have a great one.
Bye.
Have a wonderful birthday celebration. She left before I said that, but yes, that's what she's kind of doing with her folks this weekend. So it's fantastic.
Yep.
I'm trying to get Rancheline's, understanding, physical servers that are managed by people, those people you don't know and have no control over. I don't know how that applies in the cloud, really, to what you're trying to do. But we know they try to do, and I don't know if they still have some of their servers in AWS, but that wouldn't have been my first choice, especially with the, data in, data out being charged both ways for data on that platform. Yeah. That really makes it a challenge, but clouds are DoD certified, Rangeline. So you can certainly do any level of isolation that you need to do in that environment. Plus the fact that you have scalability, right? So and you have dynamic scalability. So your server needs X amount of CPUs, and we can give it X amount more on demand, right? Just as you're ramping up, and you just keep ramping up, right? Now we know their system isn't multi-threaded yet, so there's some of that. But in the cloud, you have advantages, certainly from a database perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because they built a lot of their code in SQL servers, stored procedures, right? I don't know if they've undone a lot of that, but they originally had a lot of that. You want your database server to serve data, not run your code and do your calculations. So, I really wouldn't have done that, but, certain databases are unlimited scalability, right? Within certain database platforms that you don't have in others, that can serve that data much, much faster. And the fact that you can scale up, scale down just so fast, really. Plus the don't that's the other thing with clouds, right? So you have different standards for user data in the EU and in the US and all over the world, right? So you can actually store those end users' data wherever you want in the cloud and adhere to the right standards. So there are a number of advantages there. It's not the end all be all. It's something that they have to think about, but it might be better for them. That's about it. That's kind of like my one last thing, right? CCP should look at that. And by the way, you got to see if it's if there's a cost advantage there, right?
Mm.
You know?
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about what you thought of a certain upcoming game and the fact that they're touting it as like a cloud based kind of game.
Oh, what game is that?
Whether I'm trying to find the name about it again. It's got a
I think Amazon's games are
name to it.
Cloud based in their cloud, right? I mean,
yeah. I mean, well, most like online games do have like some degree of like cloud elements to it, right? Like they spin up servers as and when required, right, for certain things. But it's one of those things where it was a game that's essentially apparently going to be on using Unreal Engine 5, but like you'll be able to run it on everything from a PC to a sim phone, to a cell phone. Sorry.
Oh, interesting.
Which I'm not sure how that's going to work, unless it's going to be working in the same way that NVIDIA, like the sort of like cloud gaming, cloud kind of thing, like services where you're not actually, your computer or your phone isn't actually running the game. It's just, getting the stream from wherever the game is running to you, and then you're interacting with it, right?
Google wanted to do that.
Yeah,
part of their
so I'm wondering as to whether it's going to be like that or whether it's going to be something different. But I don't know whether anybody can remember out there that knows which particular game I'm talking about. I'm trying to find it on, because I know I watched a video of it or a couple of videos of it on YouTube. So I'm trying to like scroll through my history to find it.
The morning says GeForce Now. It actually works pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does,
like, if it's a question of whether it's going to be like a GeForce Now situation or whether they're trying to do something different. But I'm not entirely certain.
The more you do on the server, the harder it is to scale and do certain things, right? And that's where we can talk positively about CCP, right?
Yeah,
they're a server-based game, and they have some serious stuff going on, right? And
for sure, yeah.
Unique challenges there, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
And the more that you do in memory, and the more power that you have, but I think they're limited in the fact that they're running on a VM platform for their application servers. I'm not sure their database servers are in the VM platform, but right. I mean, when you think about that, if you take a VM and you dedicated a physical host to it, right? No other VMs on that physical host, you actually lose performance on that. VMware is designed for multiple VMs, right? So if you want somebody on a single VM on a single server, you might as well just place them on a single server and not waste the overhead, because you still have the CPU context switching and all of that going on. And it's looking for a second VM, but it's never finding it, right? So you lose CPU when you do a single VM on a single physical. Same with the memory and things like that. But yeah, so that's a challenge. But again, in the grant, understand that's an efficiency comment, right? That doesn't mean that it's bad or to put a single VM on a single host when you're trying to get the most performance out of that VM that you can. Right? Just understand from a physical host, it's still, you're still losing something in that layer. Plus the fact that they're probably going to get gouged on their renewal from the new owner of VMware, right? And a lot of folks are moving away from that. And if you go into the cloud, there are alternatives to VMware to building VMs. Okay, so so you can get out of that cost structure if you need to, right? So that's all things that hopefully CCP is looking at and trying to figure out what they want to do in their next phase. Yeah. Well, Bane of the Galaxy Cloud isn't one data center, right? It isn't one data center in AWS. It isn't one data center in OCI. There's availability zones and all kinds of things. And whole region DR and failover and all kinds of things. Bare metal's fine. It's the capacity that you have built out, right? I don't know what cloud you're talking about, right? But if you're dealing with any of the major clouds, Azure, AWS, OCI, don't know much. But Google's a little less mature, I think, than those three. But yeah, I mean, you don't run out of bare metal in any of those data centers. Trust me.
No.
I mean, I know how big they are, right? So yeah. But yeah, they're interesting things. And you know what? It would be maybe we do it like an offshoot show when we talk about virtualization and cloud and things that they might be able to do in the gaming environment. It'd be interesting. And again, we're spitballing because it's easy to do a 30,000-foot view and conversation of some of this stuff. It's much harder to actually dig down in and figure out what they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you one example, right?
Okay.
If CCP were able to build their compute mechanism in their application to be multi-threaded, not single-threaded, okay? Imagine.
Okay.
I just want everybody to imagine. Again, it's a design thing. I can talk a lot very specifically about AWS, like for instance. Now I better not say that. They're a little tough on designing redundancy, right? So, and by the way, if you have a problem on AWS, they don't actually tell you what the problem was. But I am going to talk about AWS and EC2 in particular, right? If CCP could make their engine scale and be parallelized, right? Could you imagine the possibilities? Because the biggest EC2 node that you can build is 96 cores. Last I checked.
Ooh.
Could you imagine what we could do? I don't know the memory limitation. And I have seen processing on that, by the way. And I know what it can do, and I know how fast it runs and how hard it runs, right? And by the way, in the particular situation, I know it can beat it too. But imagine if you had 96 cores and you could scale the node. How big a fight could we have? Right?
That would be kind of crazy. Like I think the thing is like a lot of the people who kind of say that like don't get too hyped up about it, etc., etc. Do make a point, and I think it is a sort of a somewhat worthy point, at least at least from what I can do, from what I understand with when it comes to sort of cloud and scalability. It is you still need to have you still need to have like the like all of the different kind of compute cores that are running parallel kind of processes to sort of not be tripping over the sequence of events that it needs to sort of that's happening in the game. So it's not a case of like getting things in the wrong order and all that kind of shit, right? Like pulling out, like if it's pulling out and sort of distributing sort of jobs and processes, that they're not all coming back in an incorrect order to basically screw everything up, right? And so a lot of people kind of say that like the performance isn't going to be like a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of scale when you're scaling it, because you still have to have that like you still have to thread like all of those processes back together to create a sequence that is not all jumbled up and fucked up.
Oh yeah, when you do parallelized processing of, let's even say data, right? There is a point where the number of CPUs or the number of nodes that are doing the same processing, right? You don't get 100% of your CPUs that you add, right? Because there is overhead on reconciling all that. And when you think of the number of transactions that like a market like NASDAQ or Wall Street or all that stuff and
actually happens a day,
right?
Yeah.
Or imagine splitting a database query across 10 or 20 nodes that have 24 processors each, right? And splitting that all and still keeping that data reconciled, right? It's not unlike what we need to do with the things in Eve. You know, there's all kinds of latch locking and things like that you have to be concerned with. Nano switches, yeah, and understanding. But the expertise and the cost to write an engine like that, right, and that highly parallelizes the code and things like that. That's up
depending
here.
Depending on how you write that, though. You can take that base kind of code and potentially utilize it in other places that could make you a lot of fucking money.
But understand this code does exist today, right? And I'm not taking anything away from CCP's developers, but to write parallelized code and keep it consistent, that's up here, and normal developers are a little bit below those, right? And by the way, that's a lot of money, right? Yeah. A lot of money to build that, right? But I think if you build that gaming engine, right, maybe you have a core technology that nobody else can build. And if you build it generic enough to run across multiple games, you really could have something interesting. Again, value and investment versus what you're going to get the return on that, right? I mean, we can talk, oh yeah, this would be great if CCP would do something like this for Eve and we'd be amazing. But at what cost? To what yield?
Yeah, well, but that's the other thing, right? So it's always when it comes down to like a business decision, which, you know, unfortunately, a lot of these sort of the big kind of ticket items that we want to see happen in Eve, it kind of are. Is a case of like, you know, is it financially viable? Is it a sound investment in the time and resources, right, for the business to do?
By the way, and you're going to build customized hardware for this too, right?
Oh yeah. Because the Eve server is basically customized hardware anyway, like pretty much.
No, so when you look at, you know,
well, almost, it's, you know,
let's assume we want to.
It's not super bespoke,
right? 96 cores isn't one physical server, right? In EC2 land, I don't think. But think about this in terms. Your parallelization in a normal world is going to have to go across multiple physical nodes to do what we're talking about. And there's going to have to be a network behind that is isolated and built specifically for sharing memory. Okay? Yeah. Memory has to be shared across nodes, and you have to make that contiguous looking to the application, right? By the way, this has all been done, guys. So I'm not speaking theoretically. This is how you do it, right? And you have to share that memory and that locking of things in that memory so that multiple nodes aren't writing at the same time, right? Just like a network can't transmit multiple things on the network at the same time, you can't lock memory and deal with situations, right? You have to do this very high, a lot of context stuff, you know, really happening. So again, we're not talking investment for and coding for the meek. This is really truly high end stuff. By the way, supercomputers work this way. Okay, Linux, right? Yeah, no, you don't need a 488 Z16 running Linux. By the way, because you know, I also, you know, we don't want to deal with Linux or you know, IBM LPARs and shit too, right? So yes, and I'm very, very good friends with our local IBM sales rep as well. So yeah, but yes, there are ways to do this, right? And the hardware's been built. They've done it. It's pretty standard. But again, it's the code to make Eve work in this capacity, right? But
yeah,
would I love to see it? Yeah. If I was Elon Musk, would I build it? Probably. Just because he has enough money that it won't bother him and he probably could just do it, right? But yes. So, I mean, we should definitely continue this with a larger group, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And we are well beyond our 1 hour. So those who have probably already left on to the captain's cup. Woohoo! Jintan did not make it to us today, and Dirk did not make it to us today. So, and we knew Sop wasn't going to make it because he's knee deep in refereeing over there.
there's clearly a lot of stuff going on there that they've that's needed their attention as such. But the game that I was thinking of that's like up and coming is called PAX Day. By the way,
Demorgen, if you get the Elon money or I get the Elon money, we're doing this. So yes, absolutely. Because by the way, Demorgen and I. We have talked in depth about many things technical and cool things to do, and I would love it. Mm-hmm. And Angel Black Friday, thank you for saying that you enjoyed the conversation, because we truly did. And so
I like when we get in depth and talk about like stuff like this.
Yeah. And the only thing missing is maybe some CCP guys. Right. By the way,
I'd love to have some some of their knowledge to kind of like jump in and be like it may sound quite simple and stuff, but there are kind of like some pitfalls. And when you're talking about like high level design philosophies when coming up with certain things like this, it does get a little bit muddy when you're trying to sort of build a game into sort of like constructs like this. So yeah, I can understand that entirely. So.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we can go on about this.
The first thing that they have to do is parallelize the engine.
Right? Yeah, and that's not a small thing to do.
No, that's a big hurdle.
Yeah, that's a huge hurdle. Yeah,
but I believe it could be done. The problem is
I'm certain it can be done. It's just how much dev hours and how much investment is required for that. Like that's the only thing. Because it's not really a case of like whether it can be done or can't be done. It can be done. It's just whether CCP have the development talent, which I'm sure they do, or I'm sure would be able to find it. But like it's not a case of you can turn it around like tomorrow. If you had, people always say like, oh, if you had unlimited money and unlimited sort of budget and that kind of thing, and unlimited resources, you could get it done tomorrow. It's like, no, you can't.
I know some guys.
Like, it's just yeah, exactly. So I know some guys that can get it done by next week.
No,
like, no, you
nobody
can't.
could do that.
No, you
this
can't.
Is years of development.
Nobody could. Like exactly, there's so many pitfalls, so many kind of things that you have to kind of, troubleshoot around and like find creative solutions around for various different things. Like, and it doesn't matter whether you have unlimited budget or that kind of thing. Like, the talent pool is only as big as it is, right? You can't miraculously create more talent out of nowhere.
It's true.
So and creative solutions to things take time because they are, by definition, creative.
And some of
creativity doesn't just happen. Like it takes inspiration and a period of time to kind of for it to happen. Right. So,
and some of the things that you want to do are probably under somebody else's copyright already.
Could well be. Yeah.
So I mean, again, could be cool if we could do certain things. Probably it would be a phased approach, right? And I think they've tried to do some of this when they try to do the local comms and everything through AWS at one point. Whether it's still there, I'm not sure, right? Really, and some of the things they're trying to do with the big brain stuff and moving things off of certain servers and caching them in memory in other servers and things like that are probably the steps that you do first. And then you have to see what you can do. Use chat AI. No.
I have heard it is the shortcut to writing code that you just ask ChatGPT to write you code, and there you go. Like, right?
weren't some kids writing essays, using it to write their essays for school too?
Yeah. The concerning thing is if those essays go through and they get the qualifications and then they keep on doing it, and you end up with like, people in charge of like traffic control or like air traffic control who have no idea what they're doing. That's the concern.
Air traffic control. That's a job that I would not want.
That is a stressful job.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, whew. I'm going to use it to write new birthday dirges. No, I like the one we have, DeMorgan. Okay, I like the one we used today to all our friends. And I think probably, DeMorgan, we're all going to be heading down south at some point when we get a certain email from a certain probably snail mail from a certain ex-corp mate. So we will be having some fun in the Carolinas for sure.
Ooh, okay.
Botters will just love it. By the way, botters already use it. I mean, I get spam calls and I know that it's just a robot, you know? I just know. You can tell. I just hang up.
You have to figure out a certain set of questions that you ask that you can kind of determine whether it's a ChatGPT bot or whether it's actually a real person or not. Like a proper Turing test, as it were. Like to use when you strike up a conversation in local with somebody who you think is a bot and think that it might be just replying to you because it's inputting and copying and pasting the sort of like the conversation to and from ChatGPT, right? Yeah.
What is this? How many times has your social security number been canceled? I don't even understand that question.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, that would be. I imagine that's probably an example of a question that you might sort of pitch to a ChatGPT.
Robot calls.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, yeah.
Yep.
We've I think we've
exhausted the day.
You got an extra 25, 26 minutes. Yeah.
More people keep watching. It's terrible. I'm not going to watch the Captain's Cup. Christ. I've got other things. Everything's social. Oh, I'm sure they are. I mean, Jesus. I mean, everybody knows. It's why I keep a mortgage on my house so nobody wants to take my title. Like, holy shit, it's already mortgaged to the hill. Oh my god.
I watched there was this. So recently, there's been this conversation about how bad is TikTok on your phone?
There is no TikTok in terms of.
On your phone. Well, that's probably a good thing because the thing is, I see conversation about this in the news, when they get experts on to talk about it and stuff, and I'm like, oh, these experts are so just lowballing this. There were was it apps that were fitness tracking apps, right? That was basically sort of tracking your progress, your running progress, right?
Yeah.
That were uncovering secret military bases all around the world because they gathered GPS data, and that GPS data basically showed tracks where people were running around these military bases and stuff that weren't on any maps or anything of that form, just shit like that. When you download an app and it says TikTok would like access to these things, and most people just switch off and just go yes, accept, right? That just means that it could potentially mean that it can listen in to your microphone whenever it wants. It can turn on and watch your anything from your camera whenever it wants. It can track your GPS location all the time. We were talking earlier about how the information coming out of EVE Online's ESI endpoints create a ridiculous picture of how deep you can get into understanding so many aspects of the game, and people's movements and all that kind of stuff. That is a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of data that you send to these apps. If you just blindly accept all when it asks you for permission to access certain things on your phone, it's ridiculous.
It is.
It's yeah. It's
when you turn your lights on, when you turn your lights off, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Please click on my link. That's right.
Yeah, this is not a virus. Don't click on that link. Just saying.
Oh, I get the, I love the texts that come into your phone. By the way, we could not deliver your, your UPS package or whatever, right? Click this link to make sure that we can deliver to you. We couldn't find your address, right? And I'm sitting there going, well, it's not a UPS.com.
Yeah, it's not a UPS.com, and I haven't. I haven't.
UPS was just here 5 minutes ago. They know where I am.
Or I haven't actually ordered anything to be delivered by UPS. So what the fuck?
Yeah. Hey, Lucky and Frozen, thank you for following. Or no, your Amazon account has been frozen. Yeah. By the way, yeah, or we will freeze your Amazon account. I'm like, yeah, no. My favorite is when I get an email that somebody is asked to reset my Facebook account. Okay. I don't use regular passwords.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure all my passwords are generated somewhere else and are as long as they can be. Right? And I just laugh. Trying to hack my Facebook again.
Yeah. You guys should all 2FA your stuff, and even if you're like, oh, I've 2FA'd my stuff, make sure it's an app-based 2FA, not SMS or email 2FA. No. Don't use LastPass. Jesus Christ, no. That was the one thing which I thought was like, oh, this is going to happen at some point. Was like people were using password managers, and it was just like, well, that's going to be target number one for hackers at some point.
I have a
lo and behold, LastPass.
I have a small, older Cray, C90 in my basement that includes all my passwords.
Oh, there you go.
It's a small one, leather seat option. That was actually an option on the Crays. You want leather seats or not? As Demorgent knows, because Demorgent is one of probably the only other person I know that watches this show, or plays Eve, that knows that there are black and gold Cray computers, and that was a special color. Crays came in blue or red.
Oh, so talking about passwords and hacking and all that kind of stuff, there was an article. Have a look at this. In Tom's Hardware. Oh no, this was ages ago. Christ, why was this only
Mario, baby?
What? So back in 2022, in October of 2022, I don't know why this wasn't like a bigger thing back then. But I recall it circulating about this like recently-ish. But like if you took 8 RTX 4090s and like put them together in a rig with obviously certain kind of software and that kind of stuff, it could crack passwords. So it was the part of the article basically says verbatim is, the researchers estimate that a purpose-built password hashing rig pairing 8 RTX 4090 GPUs could crack an 8-character password in 48 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
It's funny. Demorgent, burn. Help me out. That had to be after my time.
Yeah.
Back in the days,
so it was
Digital Equipment Corporation and Vaxes and VMS and Ultrix.
Yeah.
GPUs are great for password. Yeah, and by the way,
that cracking that cracking of an 8 character password in under an hour is basically based around the normal sort of 8 characters long, follows the conventions of at least one number and a special character. So basically, it's just basically what brute forcing passwords. So yeah,
nice. The as they're talking about GPUs in chat for password cracking. Yeah. By the way, and that's another advantage in the cloud too, right? You can, if you're using the right cloud environment, not only do you have access to Intel, AMD, but GPU and ARM processors as well. So you can spread your load, your transactions. You can, do target specific CPU architectures for different processing, which is quite interesting in the cloud. One of those advantages that is easy to allocate, right?
Yeah. My concern is that all of those, all of the sort of like the crypto kind of farms and stuff like that people have been, people have been investing money and all that kind of stuff into to make crypto on. Basically when GPU prices went fucking through the roof, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could potentially all be turned around and used as password cracking kind of farms, which is just that's alarming. That's very alarming to me.
Cracking Wi-Fi passwords, yeah. I mean, imagine it. Imagine driving through a neighborhood, just seeing whose Wi-Fi you can crack. Just driving through, picking up the various networks. That's what I mean. I have, I look at the Wi-Fi's all around me on a regular basis. Or driving.
Because you're a nosy neighbor.
No, I like to know, what channel everybody is on, where the sweet spot for the channel is. The one thing when I got Wi-Fi, they wanted to put a private Wi-Fi network between our solar panel systems and our Wi-Fi network. So they had a gateway, and they had their access, right? And they were on their private 2.4 gig Wi-Fi, and they just wanted to hardwire into my network to be on my Wi-Fi. Rather than just designing something that can take my SSID, get input into it, and put my password in, right? And by the way, I know the reason why they did that, because they have so many people who sit there and say, oh, I'm going to get a new Wi-Fi router, put a new SSID out there and all this stuff, and then nothing works and nothing's connecting and nothing's transmitting, right?
Well, surely the most secure way of doing that is to actually not broadcast your SSID. Like, it's one of those things that either you know or you don't, and that way you can be sure of the connections, that are coming in, even though it's you don't. Obviously, if you're not broadcasting your SSID, like you still keep it. Is it WPA2? That's the standard kind of thing now, or is it web? I can't remember.
My router does all of them, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think
but yeah, like don't. Yeah. All I'm saying is make sure it's still still secured, even though you're not broadcasting the SSID. But I think the as far as I know, the more secure way of doing it is, you set your router up or your Wi-Fi up not to actually transmit the SSID.
Right.
And that's because then it's a case of just set the SSID as something that and then if anybody wants to jump on, they can ask you what the what the network is.
Well,
you just say it's
or
not
just,
viewable, but you just
network.
you
but
yeah, or you could do that. Yeah,
I like this WiggleNet, man.
Does not broadcasting SSID do nothing? I thought it was. I thought it was a case of you can only find it if it was broadcasting SSID. That was that's my assumption anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what the SSID is, then that's fair enough. But if you're just browsing to see what the SSIDs in the area are, that's what I'm talking about. Is Oh, okay. Fair enough then. But hey, it's another hurdle to get over.
It is,
as far as I'm concerned.
It is. I want to know Wow, unencrypted Wi-Fi's are just out the wazoo. Seriously? Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right. Well,
Yeah.
I think we're pretty much at the end of our day. We've had some great conversation. And by the way, great conversation from the chat. Thanks, guys. It's really, really interesting.
Always nice to see you guys active.
Absolutely. So maybe we'll do some more like this if it's some of the stuff you like. So I'm thinking about sending out some questionnaires, McLeod.
We can get into some
folks.
deep conversations.
We can. Let's get CCP in some of them. It'll be fun.
Oh, I'd love to have some.
If
CCP.
you could
It's
build
just like
the perfect EVE Online, what would you do?
They see the thing is they can come onto the show and just talk about stuff like that they like, and they not really relate to EVE Online specifically. Like we don't mind just having a chat with them. Like that's the thing. Like, I mean, half the time we're not talking about EVE Online. We're just talking about other random stuff. So be cool.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah.
All right. Well, McLeod, thanks for everything. Don was here too.
Hey,
so thank you. It was a great day. Captain's Cup's probably going on, and you guys probably should go over there and watch that too. I do not know if there is a meta show today, but I would think there would be. Fly Dangerous. I love it, Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Keep your pigeon on so you can get pings and stuff like that. So yeah.
And by the way, anybody who's going out to enjoy St. Patrick's Day Part 2, have a blast. But remember, there's Uber and Lyft. Don't need to drive home from the bar. No excuses.
Yep.
Everybody have a wonderful weekend. We will see you back here next Saturday, and we'll all be better adjusted to the time. Later.
Yeah, we definitely will. Bye.
Later, everyone. Have a great one.